Good morning, everybody. I just saw the video of that filthy fucking commie Muslim Hasan Piker, who, for whatever reason, is a popular YouTuber, Twitch streamer, or something, e-boy, and he is abusing his dog because the dog dared to get up from the spot that he wanted his dog to be sitting in. So I'm actually a former dog trainer. I was a dog trainer for 2 years, and I want to clear up a little bit of the controversy around this, because there's a lot of people that think punishment, as in pain type punishment, and not the good type of punishment, which I will explain later, is justified and is, a good way to train a dog. It's not. But this guy, I want to point out a couple things that I hate about the left so much. The left loves to paint themselves as these like warriors of good virtue and defenders of the oppressed and the helpless. Well, who's more helpless than a little dog, or an unborn child, or a baby, or a little kid? Who's more helpless and defenseless and reliant upon the goodwill of others than the youngest, or an animal that's a pet? Nothing. There's no group of adults are as oppressed as children, or as dogs, or cats, or animals that can't, they don't have a say. They don't have any ability to stand up for themselves against us. So if you're going to have a pet, you're willingly taking in an animal that you didn't have to take in, that you are free to give it away. You're taking in this animal. By taking in an animal as a pet, you are assuming the responsibility over this animal to treat it with love and respect. An animal, like a dog or a cat, has nerve endings. They can feel pain. They can feel emotions. They can think. They can, their ability to suffer is no less than ours, really. A dog can feel fear and it can feel pain. Obviously, that's the whole point of what he did. So let me explain real quick from a trainer's perspective what he did. So the dog was sitting in its place, in which he put up in his background. So he's treating the dog like a possession, like a trophy. Look at because he's got this like fancy looking, like the I don't know, Shiba Inu or something. It's one of those like designer dogs. He's got like a purebred dog. So a communist who supposedly cares more about equality and doesn't think one race is better than the other and all that, and has a designer dog. He went and got the most pure breed that he can find that looks fancy, which is not cheap. He spent a lot of money on it. So again, he's not saving the lives of a dog that's at the Humane Society that's going to get put down. He's actually giving money to an immoral puppy mill, which is, the whole breeding industry is just evil. It's the things that they do. They literally just enslave dogs to have sex and make puppies. And it's sometimes they'll actually jerk off the dog to extract the semen that they'll keep inside of a bag they'll put in the freezer, because dog sperm, and I met a dog breeder once. I used to work with one, and after he excitedly told me about how dog breeding works, I avoided this motherfucker, because that shit is creepy and weird, and it just shouldn't happen. They jerk off the dog. The cum goes into a bag or something, and they put it in the freezer, because dog sperm doesn't freeze. Like any normal person sits around and thinks about, well, what kind of sperm freezes in the freezer? That's weird. And then they use like a baster or something. They stick it in the female, if they don't just leave the dogs alone in a room to do it, which that's that's less immoral, I guess, but it's still like, there's strays. Like, there's so many dogs that are at the Humane Society that need a home, and you're gonna pay somebody to breed more dogs. And if the breeders can't sell the dogs, they get rid of them one way or another. So this anti-capitalist spends thousands of dollars on a designer dog, funding an evil industry that he doesn't have to fund, that there's a charitable version of that industry in the form of the Humane Society and other pounds and dog shelters he could have adopted a dog from. So he could have put it on display as a possession. Again, this group of people who communists think that possessions are wrong and evil. Imagine no possessions. You know, those people treat a living creature as a possession. A dog is not a thing, okay? It is a living creature that's simply a different species than us. I really like the thought experiment. This is one reason I'm a capitalist, by the way, is I love the thought experiment that says, imagine you were born as someone else. Maybe you're a different skin color, you're a different gender, you're in a different country. What kind of world would you want to live in where you could be born as any other person and you would still have a decent shot at life? Well, that's capitalism, you know, free markets, equality before the law, things like that. That way you can rise as high as you're willing to climb. And the flip side of that, like, to take the argument even deeper, is one of the main reasons I'm a vegan. Okay, well, imagine not only are you born as a different person, but what if you're born as a different animal, a different species? What if you were born as a cow or a chicken? I mean, you're lucky you were born as a human. We like to brag that we're like the height of evolution, or like we're the best animal on earth. But like, you put a 200 IQ man into the body of a dolphin, and what's he going to do? He can't go build computers with his little dolphin flippers. It's just not possible. So, as a thought experiment, why not have a little empathy, which is a buzzword that communists love to throw around because they virtue signal. They don't actually have real morals. They just have pretend, look at me morals, I smell my own farts morals. And this Hasan Piker guy has his dog in the background of his video, and the dog stands up off of it, and he's got a little, like, I don't know, it's maybe like a 3 foot by 2 foot little stand that he's sitting on. And the dog stands up to get off of the stand. And you see Hasan hit something over here, and the dog recoils. It's a shock collar. And it was enough voltage that the dog actually curled up a little bit, which is, that's a lot of voltage. Now, I was a dog trainer, and I'm going to explain a little bit to you real quick about how pain compliance works with a dog. So there's actually 4 ways you can communicate to a dog, and only 4 ways, because they don't speak English. That was always the first thing I would teach people, because they say, oh, my dog doesn't listen to me. And I'd be like, oh, really? What if I were to ask you to do something for me in German or Korean? Do you speak German or Korean? You might want to comply with me, but because you don't understand what I'm saying, you can't do it. It's just not possible. So what I would say to you to teach you how to communicate with your dog is there's only 4 things you can do. Okay, you can there's positive and negative, which from a training, learning theory perspective, just simply means giving and taking. And then there's reward or reinforcement, and then there's punishment. All that means from a training perspective is you reinforce means you do this in order to get more of that behavior. And punishment means you want to get less behavior from that, or you want to get less of that behavior. So a good example of this, positive reinforcement. You give a dog a treat for doing something that you like. The opposite of this, what if they do something you don't like? Well, there is negative punishment, which is where you take away the thing that they do like. So let's say I'm trying to give a dog a treat, and because he's sitting, but then he stands up, so I pull the treat away. So that's a form of negative punishment. And these are the only two methods of reinforcement that I support for dog training. Because dogs, there's a negative outcome to pain compliance. So that would be like positive punishment, which simply means, and negative reinforcement, which means like you cause them pain, like a shock. You're giving them pain. And then negative reinforcement would be like you're taking away pain. So something like a prong collar. You put a prong collar on a dog and you walk them, and if they pull, it hurts them. This is a terrible way to teach a dog to walk nicely. I can teach someone to get their dog to walk nicely within a single class. Give me 45 minutes and I can teach you how to get your dog to walk nicely by your side without pulling. It's a little more complicated than just yank on them with a prong collar, but it avoids the negative outcome, which shows to me that Hasan, filthy fucking Muslim commie piker, does not love his dog, which is, if you cause them physical pain, you're spiking the cortisol in their brain. This is just like child abuse. This is dog abuse. And any form of physical pain that you experience, especially that you don't understand, which children and dogs don't understand, especially dogs, because they don't speak English. A child can maybe understand it, but it's still gonna, have negative effects on them. And I mean, hey, if I haven't, said it yet, just to get it out of the way, don't hit your kids, don't spank them. Look up peaceful parenting. Look up actually how to parent your kid without hitting them. So anyways, when you cause pain to a dog, you're spiking their anxiety, which means they're going to be more likely to bite people or to be defensive. And that's not the kind of dog you want. You want a dog that is like a dog that's happy, loving, likes to play, very playful, but also listens, because you've used positive reinforcement the right way to teach them what certain things mean. Now, the dog sitting in that little area behind his desk, I'm okay with training a dog to do that. In fact, I used to teach that in my class, except the way that we would train that, you call it place, and you could say, go to your place, or just place, and the dog goes to that place and they get rewarded. And the way you would train them to do this is you could look at this as like crate training. It's kind of different than what you might be thinking of crate training. Crate training, a lot of people think of as like potty training, a form of potty training, which it's okay. But when I would say crate training, I usually mean just train them to be comfortable hanging out inside a crate for a while. Because let's say you got to take them to the vet, or you got to go on vacation and they got to be in a crate, or for whatever reason, they need to be in a crate for a long period of time. You want them to be comfortable in the crate. So what you would do is you would put a crate inside the house, or put a mat down if you want to train them to use the mat as a place. And basically, anytime they look at it, they get a treat. Anytime they walk towards it, they get a treat. You put treats on top of this mat. You give them a toy when they're on the mat. You do things to reward them when they're on the mat. And the reason you do this is because, for one, if they're ever feeling anxious or scared, you want them to have a place that they are brainwashed to like. So if fireworks are going off, or there's a stranger in your house, like you have a guest over that they don't quite know, they can go to their place and they can feel comfortable. You want it to be like their little home away from home. Their little, if you go on vacation or you need to let your friend's dog sit for a little while, you can give them a mat and say, here, this is his mat. He's been trained to like this mat. If he's ever, that way he's not in a fully new, unknown environment. You can put a mat down that he's comfortable with, that he's already trained to like, and he's going to feel, 10 times happier in this new environment, because otherwise it's kind of a scary, mysterious new environment. And now that he's got a mat that he likes, it's not that scary. It's like, imagine you go to a new house, but you get to bring your old bed with you that you love. You love this old bed or your old couch, and you bring it to this new house. And, maybe it's a little harder for us as humans to understand because we're more adaptable, but dogs really every dog is a little autistic. They kind of need familiarity way more than we do. And so, like, the fact that he's taking this dog's place, its mat, its little sitting area, and he's using pain compliance, it shows that not only does he not understand dogs and that he doesn't understand training, but that he's malicious. This is an evil thing to do, to take something that you're supposed to like and to train you to hate it. The left is just so morally bankrupt. And it's not just the left. Of course, there's people on the right side that do this too. But we call them out for it. We criticize the hell out of them for it. Like that one bitch who's head of ICE. Okay? I support ICE. But that woman who killed her dog for being too sweet or whatever it was, fuck her. We all hate her. We support ICE, but we hate her. And you won't see people on the left criticizing Hasan for this. And it's not just because he's a leftist, because communists, to them, morality has nothing to do with personal choice. It's everything to do with groups of people, with collectives. This is why I will argue until I'm dead that veganism is a right-wing movement, because veganism requires personal responsibility. Okay? I am personally responsible for my impact on the world. If I choose to give money to an industry that I don't support, then that is my moral failure. I am morally obligated to not give my money to businesses that I think are evil. If I think that killing an animal is evil, which it is, then I'm not going to pay somebody to kill an animal on my behalf. That is right-wing activism. Is, at the very least, make sure you're not giving money to your enemies or to something you think is evil. Left-wing activism is shutting down roadways and disrupting normal life, creating some form of chaos to force big changes that just, it's saying I'm not responsible for it, but... Sorry, there's something going on. Left-wing activist, and I said this in college. I remember I went to college for just like a semester, and this woman came to tell us about how the ocean is being overfished. And she's sitting down in front of a big group of people, and she's eating her lunch. And her lunch is a fucking fish salad. So I asked her, I said, what are you eating for lunch? And she's like, oh, there's some fish salad. And I told her, I'm like, I literally said verbatim, I said, are you fucking retarded? Because I was like, you're a hypocrite for eating. You're paying money to take fish out of the ocean while preaching to us about overfishing. You stupid woman. And the whole crowd was leftist, so they don't understand personal responsibility. They will not call out Hasan Piker for this because, oh, well, that individual's dog doesn't matter. What about this? What about that? What about this or this corporation that does this? Or they will only criticize individuals on the right, and they will only criticize corporations or companies as a whole for something, instead of taking any responsibility themselves. It's messed up. And Islam is notoriously anti-dog. Muslims will kick dogs in the street. They think dogs are filthy. And it's like, why do people tolerate these evil ideologies, these sick, vicious ideologies? It doesn't make any sense to me. They will say, Like it's this sort of like pussy. Oh, I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want to speak about something I don't have the right to talk about, or I don't know what they're going through. I'm not here to judge. And it's like, okay, well then don't talk about anything. If you're too scared to criticize Islam, then don't talk about Christianity. Don't talk about America. Like all these comedians that just went to Saudi Arabia. If you went to Saudi Arabia to insult America, you're a disgrace. You want to go to, you know, it's like they lose all credibility. If you're going to complain about a house cat scratching you while there's a tiger in your front yard waiting to eat you, just shut the fuck up, you know? That's all I got to say. I got to get to work.